Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Two Queens Checking In. I'm Theta Valley, plus size diva queen at your beck and call, and this is my co-host.
Hey, bitches, it's Miss Maxine for your pleasure.
Oh, Maxine, pleasure. Max,
hmm
Maxine, what are you? You're a semi-retired drag queen banking stud, right?
I'm like 900 things in one, yes. I'm a semi retired drag queen. I'm a banker by profession. I am a full time witch.
Mhm.
Ooh, risque.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm an
So
avid Diet Coke drinker.
I was going to ask you if you were drinking Diet
Mm,
Coke while we were doing this.
yes.
I
Of course I
actually,
am.
I don't know. I know that we have several fans of Diet Coke out there in the atmosphere
Yes,
of,
we do.
but so, first, I just want to start by thanking everybody for their amazing feedback and bearing with us as we work through our technical challenges.
Or just our challenges, as we
Yes.
like to call them. Because we are challenged.
Yes, we are challenged, but you guys love us anyways, right?
Yes.
uh,
Please tell us you love us.
please, we need validation. Um, like last
Please love
week,
me. Oh, sorry.
no, you're fine. I couldn't figure out. Okay, so I used the app last week to do the show, but I got feedback from people that there was an echo. So I'm hoping I have mitigated that this week with my
Did
gamer
you say you hope
headset.
fully medicated it?
Well, I am fully medicated at all times,
For your pleasure.
right? And everybody else's. Oh, my our Dark and Stormy has entered the live studio.
Oh,
Welcome,
hello,
Dark and
dark and
Stormy.
stormy.
That's our that's our bestie from Georgia, and
Yes.
she will be
She is as
joining
southern as it
us.
gets, too.
Uh,
Let's let everybody know that.
absolutely. And every way, she's a delectable, like a butter pecan ice cream cone that you just want to lick up.
Honey, she's from the south. She's a butter pecan.
Oh, butter pecan.
Y'all.
Oh, just so y'all know, at one point in time, Dark and Stormy is gonna get on this chat with us because she is absolutely. I live for her,
Amazing.
right? So just want to put that out there.
Love you, boo.
Shout out to Dark and Stormy. Um, but I couldn't figure out. Okay, so this is part of the technical. Okay,
The
I couldn't figure
glitches.
out how to get the music on the online versus the app. So we didn't have any intro music this week, but I will fix that because
I would sing us
I.
an intro song, but we all know I'm tone deaf, so
you
I don't
just
want everybody to
gotta
leave.
you just gotta sing like I'm trashy, I'm trashy. And in my head, I see you like groin thrusting as you do that.
So, what if I am?
Do it, please.
All right.
So, this week we've got a lot to talk about. And the first thing, obviously, until the season is over, is we're going to do our weekly recap of RuPaul's Drag Race. May the best woman win. Is that trademarked? Am I going to get sued now?
Probably, because you know the whole RuPaul and his lawyers thing. So,
Right.
but then again, if Heidi hasn't been sued 57 times from the start of the season,
Can I just say, I mean, I'm sure the rest of America is feeling the same, but God damn it, is Heidi not the most precious gem in the whole entire world?
I think she needs to be the first contestant ever in the history of RuPaul's Drag Race to not only win, but also be considered Miss Congeniality at the same time.
Right? Like, literally. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to know what the rest of, drop in the comments who your favorite queen is this season, who you're living for. But, I mean, okay. Her drag is obviously clearly dime store drag, which
But
I
that's
bitch is
drag.
poor, but bitch is poor too, right?
Yeah, but that's most of drag. I mean, that's one thing actually I live for when you see those queens. Because I mean, come on, how many people in the drag scene across the US do you see that are as polished, if you could say, as Gigi Good and having, you know what I mean? Like, most drag queens don't have that kind of money. They do
It's
drag
true.
for a living and they're, hoping for people to hand them those dollar bills.
Uh-huh. It's true.
So
That's why, remember, bitches, when you go to the drag shows, tip
tip
your
them.
entertainers. Those
Yes,
bitches
ma'am.
are working hard for you, and that is how they're making a living.
And
And
it
they
is expensive to do drag,
Yes,
trust.
it is so expensive. So I
Hmm.
like that she does it. What she say on one episode? I remember she said like she made $9,000 last year or some shit,
Yeah, as her actual income. Yep.
right? And I was like, and to see what she pulls together, knowing that she only made like $9,000, bitch is
Yes.
turning it out.
She
Amen,
needs to
preach.
become Trixie Rich after this
She
because of
does.
that.
We need to start like a petition, like online, like let's get Heidi rich because that bitch
Yes.
deserves
She'll get
it.
rich on her own, though. I mean, come on, you've seen her.
It's
So,
true. It's true. She doesn't need our help. Bitch has it
yeah.
all in the one package
But
right
by
there.
all means, though, keep supporting it because,
Yes.
yeah.
Hey, Wise Mackie. Thank you for joining
And
us.
just so you
Welcome.
know, I'm actually unable to see who's joining in or comments, it looks like. So that's
Oh.
interesting and weird.
Well, put your glasses
But
on, baby.
no, I have them on. I actually I actually prepared my sound studio for the day and as I sat down I was like, "Oh shit, my glasses are in the other room."
Put
So
on
I
our
do
old
have them on
lady
for once.
spectacles. Thank you very much. All right. Well, now that I
Hush,
got
honey.
like so sidetracked by Heidi, let's talk about this week's episode.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you right now, do you remember the roller coaster of emotions you felt last week?
Yes. Yes.
That's how I felt this week because I'm like, I want all six of these people to win. I don't
Yeah.
hate any of them, which obviously hate being a strong word, but I mean, like, as far as being the winner.
Right.
But it's like, I literally, well, mine is Sherry Pie, I guess, but I keep forgetting she exists because we should. different
Right.
total segment, but
She has been canceled.
yes. But yeah, I was a hot mess the whole time because I'm like, I don't want any of them to go home. And how do I, and what do I want? And yeah, it was a mess.
I always feel like those episodes where they bring somebody in. Well, let me just say that I'm like, I was really pissed off and jealous because like that should have been our moment. I don't understand why we didn't get an
Yeah, I was
invite.
going to say, I'm like, they said six of the biggest super fans, yet neither you or I were there.
Right. I don't know why we weren't invited.
And, knowing
Anybody
RuPaul
else?
personally,
Anybody else in the room feeling like they were slighted because they weren't invited? Because that was some bullshit. And hello,
yeah.
Bingo. Welcome.
Oh, I just saw Bingo has joined. That's interesting.
Yeah. See,
But
now
I
you
haven't seen
can
anything
see.
else.
Told you to put
Bingo's
your
my
glasses
first
on.
one. Bingo.
Bingo, bitches.
I actually
so
like playing bingo scratch off tickets, so I'm a fan of yours.
I always feel like on those episodes where they bring people in to like do the makeover,
Yeah.
like it's always like rough. Like you see them and they get like so invested, and then when their queen gets kicked off, they're like devastated and they feel like they've contributed to the loss of this person.
But it kind of is true though, because I mean, technically they do, in its own right. I
Yeah,
mean, granted, it's still the
yeah.
responsibility of the performer to do
Turn
their
it
shit.
out
But
right.
yeah,
Yes.
to turn it out left, right, upside down. Yep.
Yes. So yeah, I was happy that nobody got sent home because I felt like everybody did what they could, and so
Hmm.
that was good. But
Yeah.
I
And
don't
I
know.
had
I
a
also
panic
always,
attack when I saw Heidi in the bottom two.
oh girl, me too. I was dying. I was like, not my Heidi. I will
Yeah.
burn this shit to the ground if you send Heidi home. Like,
Yeah.
yes,
But like I said, I mean, I can't even try to fathom right now because I don't want anyone else to go home at this point.
right.
I like them all. I want them all to stay. I want them all to win.
I know,
And
but they
you
can't.
know as well as me, I have never gone a season of Drag Race without technically correctly predicting, if not the top three, but about the top three pretty
It's true.
correctly.
It's true.
And I study TV. I mean, we all know this. Let's get that
You are. You
set
like
on the
have a
table.
PhD
Yeah,
in
I
fucking
do.
reality TV.
But I mean, like,
Like,
even as far as that stuff's concerned, I usually know, like I said, who's going to probably make the top three, who's most likely going to win based off of what. Like, even think about season 5 as an example. how I kept telling you, I know Alaska deserves it. Alaska should win. And I'm not hating on Jinx or wanting Jinx fans to come freak out on me. But
I'll
we
just
all
fall
knew she wasn't
asleep.
going to win because they're not going to let Sharon win on season 4 and then the next season let her boyfriend win because that's going to obviously look.
Like nepotism.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure people
Ooh,
thought
did you
that
hear that? I
you
said
did. You did a big
nepotism.
word. You're all
Nepotism.
fancy.
Nepotism.
I've done nepotism once or
I think
twice.
you feel like you have to say it. I've done a nepotism occasionally.
Yes.
I'm open to it.
But I do. I feel like putting her on season 5 right after Sharon probably made people, you know, a little jarred because they're like, oh, they're doing it
Yes.
because of Sharon. But if she would have won, we all know the shit
Yeah.
would have hit the fan.
Yeah, and you see like Twitter afterwards, people are fucking vicious,
Oh my God.
nasty. Oh my
No,
God.
they really need to stop that. It's a TV show.
Calm your tits, world. Like,
Yeah.
this is not that serious.
I mean, now keep them. So, for those of you who don't know, I live an hour away from where both Sharon and Alaska are from.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually part of my drag family is what's now part of their drag family. So, by all means, and of course, I've rooted for them from the beginning. However,
Sorry, I was drinking coffee.
it's all right.
I'm so cold.
You're good. I'm hot, so I'm drinking my Diet Coke.
You're always hot,
But
baby.
I know. But it's one of those things that, of course I had I want them to win, but I wasn't going to sit there and, give Jinx death threats.
Right? Like, it's not that serious.
Yeah, like it's TV show.
Like, for real, people need to get hobbies sometimes, because with that kind of like, I don't understand it. It's like,
Yeah.
who has time to be going trying to make? Okay, wait. Speaking of death threats, this is something that I wanted to talk to you about, and I want to talk to the world at large about. So,
Okay.
everybody listening,
I'm wondering what this is about. I'm worried. So,
everybody listening, I just want your input, because I've been having this debate with a friend, and they just don't seem to get my point of view. So, I really need everybody's input on this. So, I don't understand why, if I go and talk to somebody about, like, doing a hit for me, like, let's just say I was like really pissed off at a boyfriend. And he was like cheating and like keyed his car. And then I was like, fuck him. I want him dead. So, and then I found a hitman, and I went and was just like, hey, how much? What would you do? And then I was like, cool. Thanks. I'm not going to do it though. I cooled down and changed my mind. Like, that's a totally bad idea. It's murder. That's bad. Like, why would I get arrested for that when I didn't actually pay them?
well,
welcome, beautiful inside and out.
Part of me.
I hear that silent shock on your head.
I don't think it's necessarily silent shock. It's more, how do I correctly answer this? Because I don't see what's
Come on,
wrong
guys.
with,
somebody has to be on my side with this.
I don't see what's wrong with going out and killing a bitch if they did you wrong.
Okay, because that is actually illegal, right?
Well,
like,
but even
that's actually illegal.
But the thing is if they do you wrong, then
but like, just talking about it's not illegal. And just like, like, what if I came up to you and was like, hey, do you know where I could get some drugs? I didn't buy drugs. I was just asking about it.
And I mean, like, not to sound stupid, but if just speaking of it, I mean, I'd be locked away for like the next 70 lives.
Right? I feel like
because I mean, do I not pretty much like threaten a bitch's life every time I talk to you?
You do. You are always threatening to kill somebody.
Sir.
And I'm like, just because I actually talked to somebody who would do it, like, I didn't pay them. So why is that illegal? Like, I was just talking.
So I want to know more details about this conversation. Or is this one of those like after the podcast is over?
Yeah. We don't want to incriminate ourselves since it is illegal.
And I'm just curious. I'm not the person in question. Am
I? No, baby.
Do I need to hire security?
I don't know. What have you done this week that I need to know about?
Watch TV.
That quarantine life.
Mhm.
Girl, I'm running out of shit to run. I need somebody, okay, if you're listening, you need to drop some recommendations because Netflix pickings is slim. I am dying, running out of stuff to watch.
See, I don't know about you, but like I'm always finding something. It doesn't bother me.
You know how picky I am, though.
I know, but still, I mean,
Like, that's why I know, like, I'm never gonna get a man. I'm never gonna, like, be like satisfied because I'm so picky over everything in my life.
well, I mean, I'm picky about that stuff, but not about like laying on the couch and watching TV.
Even that has to meet some standards for me.
Yeah. I mean, let's think about the fact that it took you having to be in quarantined isolation in the hospital for you to start watching the Real Housewives.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
I mean,
have been
that's
telling
like,
me about the Real Housewives for like 20 years. I feel like I don't even know
yeah, it
how
hasn't been on the air that
long.
long, but
Welcome,
close.
Welcome, droid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, how long has Housewives been on the air? Like,
Officially about 15 years now, I think.
50. That's a long ass time.
Yeah.
How
And
all these wives
and
still
they have
married or
like,
what?
well, no, it's a whole shit show of, but I mean,
Okay.
they have like 7 different cities in the US that they have franchises of. Plus, they have like um, spin-offs of it in Australia and England, and
Okay, I
so
think I watched part of an Australian one with my sister-in-law
was it the
and
Melbourne Housewives?
something. And all I knew is I wanted to punch the shit out of every single one of the women that was on the show, and I could not watch it.
Now, I don't know, because if you were watching the Melbourne Housewives, that's the one that has Jackie Gillies, and she's a psychic, so she makes me happy.
Maybe I didn't watch that then because all I know is I was watching something, and I just knew like if I met those bitches in real life, I would cut them all.
See, now that's where you and I definitely differ as human beings because you, again, with your, visible threats to society.
Me out soliciting hitmen
and I'm sitting there trying to figure out and learn how I can become as rich and successful as them so I can, throw drinks in people's faces and threaten their lives without getting thrown in jail.
See, I just feel like I could be rich, but I don't have to be like, I don't know, vapid.
That's dumb. Don't be gross like that.
Ew,
Everybody
I'm
wants to be rich
so
and pretty and
so gross. I want to be like one of those ball busting, like hardcore CEO corporate bitches, like, that I'm gonna like stab my Louboutin through your throat if you fuck with me.
Well, that's what those women are like.
Are
So
they?
how do you not?
All right, I'm just gonna have to reevaluate this then.
I think you do. Maybe you watched the wrong city or something.
Yeah, let me get a city I can relate with. Like, we got a Detroit.
Well, close enough. We have the Jersey Housewives, and that's
okay.
Most of the cast from the get-go has been all Italian, so
Okay.
it's like spending a day in my house.
All right. We got like a Real Housewives of Inglewood though. Like that was gonna be more my style right there. Like,
well, I'm just gonna shut my mouth because I might say something really inappropriate right now.
Okay.
And no, people, it's not what you're thinking.
It's probably about dicks knowing you.
It's what?
Probably about dicks knowing you.
So.
And
I know what I know best. Okay.
You do know your way around the racetrack.
I'm extremely trashy, but I am not ignorant. Ooh, that could be my Real Housewife tag.
Oh, they have tags?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
I always gotta think of one.
Yeah, at the beginning of the episode, how they do like the theme song thing.
Mm-hmm.
Each one has like a little saying that they have for themselves for the season.
Oh, nice. We need to get some of those.
My favorite was the one season on Jersey Housewives. The one girl goes, "Namaste, bitches."
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
I would just go on and be like, "I'm rich."
And you're not.
Yeah, so suck it.
so pretty. Um,
Yes.
so okay. Anyways, you and I always sidetrack. Sorry, guys. We get going and then we
That's
get
the point
lost
of
and
us, honey.
sidetracked. That's true.
Remember, we're
So
experts on nothing. So
this is true story. So want to talk about this week. Speaking of the psychic on the Real Housewives and
Mhm.
all that good stuff, I want to talk about the fact that you and I profess to be witches and live that witchy life. And I know there's
I don't
like,
profess to be.
I
I
know,
am one. Thank you.
I know, yes.
There's a
I'm
slight
sorry.
difference,
It's a true story.
but I'll forgive you.
Thank
No
you.
curses on you this week.
Don't hex me. um, Mother Nature's already doing that with early menopause. Thank you very much. Bitch. Oh,
I went through
so
menopause years ago. I don't have to worry about that.
you're still high and tight and dry.
Yes, ma'am.
um,
Just like the old
so
crone I am.
I want to talk about because I think there's a lot of misconception around what is or is not acceptable and what, like, we've gotten some questions like, if you're a psychic, why don't you know my name? And things like that I think like I think people need to have a better understanding of what being a witch encompasses and what it is and isn't. And like,
Yes.
and from two different perspectives, because you have been a witch since I've known you. And
Yeah.
that's since we were like 16 years old and now we're 29.
Well, and by definition, I probably can say I was a witch since I was like 4.
In
I
the
just didn't know what it
utero.
was then. So,
In
in
utero.
utero.
Hexing your
along,
mother's womb.
along with coming out of the womb with a feather boa, I also had a witch's wand.
Yes. Oh my God, that must have been labor and birth tremendously painful for your mother.
Or very exciting, one of the two.
Ew. Oh my God.
Shut up.
But okay, this is a segue for a later time, but I have heard of women having orgasms during labor. So we're going to circle back to that at another time.
I don't know why, but I totally thought you were going to talk about those women who claim to have sex with spirits.
That's my most favorite thing, and I'm really happy it happens to me. Like I'm sitting there, like buck ass naked on my bed every night. Like, come on, spirit, come on, spirit. Mama's open.
And sorry for any weird rustling sound you may hear on my end, but I literally just spit my Diet Coke all over myself with that.
Hi, Christy. Yeah. Welcome. We're just talking about me wanting to be banged by a ghost really bad.
Now, see, once again, I'm not saying these who's joined or if there's even any comments, but
yes, I am down for like a ghost gangbang train. Like, because I mean, it's not slutty when it's a spirit, right?
Well, no. I mean, it's kind of like, when they say, well, it's not cheating if it's in a different zip code. So,
right. Yes, Christy
point.
has it.
No
she
STDs.
Says no STDs. Yes, girl.
Wait, is that sexually transmitted demons?
Oh shit, that's a whole different thing that might be coming up.
That's actually one thing I want to get into the realm of experimenting with, if you can say, is doing sex magic.
Ooh, I want some sex magic too.
I just think
it's called a vibrator.
Magic, so, I mean.
It's called a vibrator, honey, and it works magic.
Well, just keep in mind, though, I technically don't have the same birth parts as you.
It's true. Christy's bringing that big dick spirit energy. Yes, girl.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Mama is open to receive. But anyways, there we go, getting like all sidetracked again.
Exactly.
So you are a lifelong witch since I have known you. You have known since you were a child.
Yes.
And I have only been a witch I feel like it probably was my whole life, and I just, refused to accept it over the last few years.
I'm going to actually stop you there for
a second. Okay, stop me.
Because technically, the way I see it is you start practicing. If you're meant to live this life and take this path,
okay,
you start practicing when you're ready to.
Yeah,
that's true.
Not.
So, yes, you've been a witch your whole life, but it took you to get to a certain spot and point in your life for it to happen for you.
It did
And
because
no,
I had to be ready to accept
well,
accept
let's
it.
just discuss this. How many
Okay.
years and how many times have we visited each other within those years or through the mail sending for birthdays and Christmas that I would sit there and be like, Kristen, here's a piece of malachite for you. Here's a pendulum. Here's a new Ouija board.
It's
And
true.
every time you just kind of gave me that look like, thanks. And then all of a sudden you call me one day a couple years ago out of the blue and say, guess who I just talked to and what I'm going to start doing.
hmm It's
So,
true. It's very true. And I think that it did take me a long time to get to that because despite all of my radiating confidence, uh, all of my own big dick energy that I bring to the room,
yes.
I really was hesitant because people
And
are
that's okay. I
still
mean,
not. It's still not fully, I think, socially acceptable. Like I think people have an image of their head in their head of who people who practice witchy ways are, and
yes.
and it's really kind of a negative thing in a lot of ways, even though it's getting better because I feel like it's starting to become a little bit more mainstream.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's where I struggle though too. I agree with you, but I also feel because of it becoming mainstream, that causes those people. And I think you know what I mean.
Okay, what are those people?
Those people who, oh, they watched the reboot of Sabrina the Teenage Witch on Netflix. Now all of a sudden they're a full blown witch.
Yes, Christy the haters, but also fuck off because Sabrina the Teenage Witch
Oh,
is amazing.
I love me some Sabrina too. Don't get it twisted. And
Yes,
anybody who wants to learn the craft, please do. But it's
yes.
that whole I watched a TV show. I think I'm going to all of a sudden, like we were talking about the misconceptions, be able to fly on a broom and make myself disappear. So I'm going to be a witch.
Yeah, I
And then
think
they act like they're like some high priestess within the first 4 weeks of becoming one.
I think the biggest thing that I had to learn through my journey was that, like, sure, you can give me, like, a spell, a ritual, or whatever, but until the intent was actually coming from me
Mm-hmm.
and I
Yes.
meant, like, I could say whatever made up fucking shit I want, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter really what the words are until the intent is there. Like,
Yes,
I'm
very
just talking
much.
bullshit. So you can go onto Etsy and you can buy like little spells and, get things blessed or whatever that you want. And at the end of the day, really, that's nothing unless you have that intent of what you're actually saying.
Very true.
So, yeah, until I actually was like, yeah, I'm a witch. I'm
Mhm.
owning it. And I mean these things that I'm doing and
And I'm
saying.
going to start practicing on the daily and not just dabbling in it.
Yes. And I think both of us had really life changing things come about, like good and bad. But,
Hmm.
in the end, I think that the journey really is ultimately good for both of us by
Yes.
really embracing our witchy ways and owning it.
Hmm. Well, and that's why I'm saying, even too, like how we discussed, you not wanting to practice
Mm-hmm.
for the longest time. So when you did have that situation happen, which I do think you need to explain the story of how you actually, on your own accord, started practicing witchcraft.
Yes.
But just the same, it's one of those I tried to push it in you all these years because I knew I saw it in you.
Yes.
But the thing was the universe wasn't ready for you to start practicing yet.
No, because I wasn't
So
ready.
that's why you fought me like you did.
Anybody else out there in all in our room, our little all of our buddies here listening? Anybody else have an experience where you were dabbling and you kind of came to the realization that this is what you
even if
needed?
it's even if it's one of those where it wasn't meant for you. It doesn't
Or
even
do you
have to
have
be
any
that you.
questions? That's the
Yeah.
thing too, is I like clearing up misconceptions. Like what did we get a couple weeks ago? Somebody asking, like, if we could get like a locating spell, like a low jack or some shit
Oh,
on
I forgot
somebody.
about that.
And I was
Yeah,
like, wait, magic
because this
doesn't work
isn't
that way. This isn't
this isn't
fucking like
Buffy the
low
Vampire
jack,
Slayer
right?
or yeah,
Like
Charmed.
that's not how it works. Like you
Yeah.
can't just low jack a human with, you know.
Yeah, you can't throw some herbs and a piece of fire onto a map and expect it to like burn a hole just in the location that the person's at. Like, no. Not
Right?
Hollywood for real life.
Right.
Yeah.
This is IRL,
Yeah.
guys.
I
Like that's not
actually
how shit works.
I actually had somebody who asked me once if I could turn a coworker of theirs into a frog.
Oh my God, that would be
And
the
I was like,
best if we could.
well, I'm sitting there like, bitch, if I could do that, I would have turned you into a frog a long time ago, so you wouldn't even have to worry about this right now.
Oh my God.
So,
Do you know what the amazing things I could do to like the hot men that are assholes? Like, I mean, I would have like a whole army of sex
in other words, the
slaves.
entire male population.
I'm sure somewhere out there there's a good man. I just don't know.
Sure.
I mean, clearly they're probably hiding under the stones with the frogs that other witches turned, but we didn't know how to.
Yes.
But I feel like for me, like at the end of the day, and this is hard because I don't want to like exclude males who practice witchcraft like yourself.
Actually, thank you for saying that too, because that's another thing too that kind of humors me is when people label witch as a female.
Yes. Because it's
and
obviously
warlocks or wizards, and I'm like, no, I'm a witch. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Please and thank you. But I think that for me, at the end of the day, like I was always searching. Okay, people, those of you who don't know, I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, like the first I don't know, first half of my life.
I was going to say, how old were you when you stopped?
Yeah, I remember I started fighting my mom when I was like 12. Like, this is bullshit. I don't want to go anymore. But by the time I was
16, you were officially done.
By the time I was 16, because that's when you threw me my first birthday party. Remember? Like, I'd never had a birthday party. And you threw me my first birthday party. Yeah, you threw me a polka birthday party. It was so wonderful. Yeah, we had a polka birthday party for my 16th. We were those nerds.
Yes, but it was fun.
It was fabulous, though. And I may have banged like 3 people that night. Who knows?
Just 3. I'm sorry. You wouldn't sound like a lady. It's okay.
Yes. You sound like a lady, and ladies only do 3 gentlemen to callers a night.
It's 15.
And so by the time I was like 16, like I was just like done with it. And like I think the biggest thing for me was like at an early age being told like women are less constantly. Like, if you would pray and there was no man present, you had to cover your head, and women weren't allowed to do certain things in the church, and they like kept feeding that message that, women are subservient to their husbands and women will serve their husbands. And like from an early age, I knew that was like bullshit. Yeah. Oh, and Christie, girl, let me tell you, it was drama. My mother left as well. We lost literally our entire family. So my dad was super abusive, and my mom and I, we ran in the middle of the night, and it was a whole nother story and for another day. But at the end, we ended up losing our entire family. And my mother actually came to be a witch before me. She found the light a little bit sooner. But like, I just knew, and like, I knew I needed something in my life to fill that spiritual void. But like everywhere I turned, it was like,
and I think that's why
misogynistic.
You fought me as much as you did too, though, in the get-go, because I don't think you realized what a lifestyle as being a witch is like.
Yeah, I didn't understand the freedom behind it. I didn't understand the connectivity and the ability to actually have something spiritual to fill my life. And there were no rules or constraints around it the way that like regular organized religion is.
And see, that's where I think it's kind of ironic and funny, because I was born and raised Catholic.
Yes.
But I also was the kid that was 3-4 years old, having full-blown conversations with dead people. And I wasn't pretending they were invisible.
Didn't they ask your parents not to bring you to church anymore because you kept talking to dead people?
So my dad was actually a very big part in the church. He was friends with all the priests, even the, what is it? They call it the bishop or whatever. And I'm a bad Catholic, sorry. But yeah, I was probably like 5, 6 years old. We would all go to church, and I would sit there, and I would take my coat and put it on backwards so that the hood was covering my face, so I could talk to the dead people and not interrupt church.
So Christy here was a Christian and was a minister herself until
Ooh,
about 6 years ago.
interesting.
That's very interesting. Now, what
Well,
have you leave to do now, Christy?
yeah,
Are
I'm actually
you
curious what your views on all this are
yeah? Are you
firsthand.
agnostic? Are you spiritual?
Because
She's a nurse.
that's actually a funny thing too. I actually once I've been living, if you could say, more of my outed witch life, I've
Mm-hmm.
actually befriended two people who are within the Christian church who are pastors.
Nice.
And I find it really interesting because they're actually two of the most supportive people of me being my true witch self that I've ever imagined having.
Now, Christy says that, and now she's just spiritual.
Hmm.
And I think I think a lot of people who leave organized religion end up going that way of either just being fully spiritual or embracing things like witchcraft because those constraints on what is and is not allowed.
Yeah.
And like for me, like the fact that there's this religion, I guess you call it a witchcraft in a way, a religion that
Yeah.
like totally embraces like the feminine divine, right?
Hmm.
Like that's like part of the whole, as well as the masculine, but there's an equality
But it's
there
an equality.
that's
Exactly.
yeah.
Thank you.
And like, the fact that my femininity is not a hindrance. It is
Hmm.
celebrated and it is an important piece. And that the masculine, and I've always been told, how what a bossy bitch I am, bossy britches, and like,
I wouldn't call you
all
bossy. I would just say you know yourself and you're not
I
ashamed of
do.
that.
And that's the thing though, is like, my whole life I've been, oh, you're too bossy, you're too assertive, you're too manly, you're too masculine. Like even when I was like 12, 13,
Yeah.
my mom would take me to a therapist and they were like, oh, well, you test really like high on the masculine side of things. And like witchcraft allows me to embrace both pieces of
Well,
myself.
and that's the one thing actually that I love the most about my life as a witch is my coven alone, because we're a coven of witches and there's men and women, straight and gay, part of our mix.
Yeah.
There's no, boys club or just for girls only or
Yeah. And I think that that's like, I don't know, that really finally I think was the thing that cracked my shell and allowed me to embrace it was like finally realizing like, all these years of trying to be the right kind of woman, like that I
Mhm.
was like, there's a space where I am the right kind of woman and all y'all could fuck off.
Well, unfortunately though, that right kind of woman is all based off of, ignorant
Right.
backwards male behavior because they want to control everything, but
We
that's a
won't even
totally
get
different
into that, right?
subject.
Yeah,
So,
we won't even get into that shit right now because
I
that's a whole other story.
yeah, I'm definitely not ready to deal with that kind of conversation. I'm too
Yes.
pretty for that.
But what I want is anybody, who listens today, anybody out there, if you have questions afterwards, drop them in the comments and we'll answer them, every week as we go through because I want there to be like a real open dialogue about it. I want to clear up misconceptions. And I feel like, from a relative novice like myself, all the way to Maxine, who has been doing this for her entire goddamn life.
I understand too, and I'm gonna do a little bit of education right here with that statement too, though,
We'll bring
because
that
just understand,
education,
because
darling.
I've been doing it for some years. Does even though I've lived this life a whole lot longer than a lot of people who practice witchcraft, doesn't mean I'm any better or different than the next.
It's true.
I mean, because you think about when I am working on a spell, if I'm going to do something by myself, how many times I've texted you saying, hey, do you have any suggestions for a different type of crystal to use? Or, hey, I just talked to some of my friends that are in my coven and they suggested this. Do you agree with that? Or because, the only way for you to become strong and knowledgeable in what you're doing is to not act like you're bee's knees about it and
No.
have that humble piece that should be there.
And I feel like it's trust your guts, trust your instincts,
Well,
because
true, but it's also like I said, I'm trying to get the point out though that just because I've been doing it for a coon's age does not mean that I'm some high holy supreme that knows all, because that's
well,
not the
we know you
case.
think you're better than
So
everybody, but
I do, but just not with that. So I'm better
well,
than most people when it comes to makeup and sitting around watching TV and eating fast food, but
okay, and like we last episode talked way too much about Taco Bell, but we all know that that's what you have your minor PhD in.
it's true. I have my master's in reality TV and
And
my minor in Taco Bell. But I actually, okay, so just so those of you who are listening in who may not know us personally, after last week's episode, Theta and I both went to our friends and were like, give us the hard facts of how we did. Did we do good? Did we do bad? Tell us how it should be told. And every single person was like, can you not talk about Taco Bell every 3 seconds?
Somebody said it was like a Taco Bell infomercial. Sorry, guys. We love food.
But if you love Taco Bell as much as I do, come at me. We could have the conversations on the side.
Bitch is open for a sponsorship, Taco Bell. Come on in.
I've learned how to master the art of laying in bed, watching YouTube, and eating a Nachos Bel Grande and not spilling a drop.
Well, I always spill on myself. That's why my nickname's Nacho Tit.
Well, yeah, you like to save things for later.
I do, and it's like if I take my bra off when I'm with a gentleman caller, it's a surprise and a snack.
You're like, you get me for dessert after you have this snack. That's
right. We're gonna whet your appetite with this nacho. Come on in.
And if they took my bra off, they'd probably run for the borders because they would see a bunch of duct tape and stuffed socks.
No. So. And guys, just so you know, being best friends with a drag queen is not necessarily all it's cracked up to be, because when you have to no, bitch, I had to shave your back. So
that's because you love me. And waxing's expensive.
In an Airbnb in Los Angeles.
It was in Beverly Hills, thank you. Don't try to downplay us.
It's true. We were like on the border of Beverly Hills. Yes. So Beverly Hills.
And yes, Christy, we are besties. Besties for way too long, if you couldn't tell.
Like old ass, like 1920s bungalow in Los Angeles with poor plumbing and an Italian drag queen's back hair. It was not pretty.
Do you remember how many hours I was in the shower trying to shave my chest and arm hair?
Oh my God. It was like forever. I don't think you're going to ever be done.
Yeah. I thought I was going to actually be able to pull off a quick job, but no, it didn't work.
This is not a date. This is shaving. This is not one of your Grindr hookups where you're like, drop me off and pick me up in 10 minutes.
No. Speaking of Grindr, though, I want to give an update. Because last week, if those of you who haven't joined in last week or heard yet, but Theta had...
I had heard the rumor that Grindr was dead.
Yeah, like you actually devastated me. But just this morning, had another conversation with another Grindr boy, so we're still alive and working.
So what are you doing in the quarantine? Like just chatting and getting dick pics or what?
Well, that's kind of my goal of it. But these people are okay. Let's have a real talk for a second here.
Okay.
Just because you've sat around the house for most of the time doesn't mean that just automatically means that you're fine. So when I sit there and say, I'm not playing until I know that this coronavirus is done with and or some sort of quarantining is over. And they're like, but I'm not sick. Don't be stupid.
Right.
Like, there's Pornhub for a reason.
That is ignorant.
All I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to line up some dates for when it's safe.
Right? Because then it's going to
I
be
have
like
37
Mad
right
Max
now,
in the
but
Thunderdome right then.
yeah, but it's like,
You're going to be
yeah,
like
like,
Tina
simmer
Turner
down,
out
people.
there bringing them in.
Yeah, like, don't listen to the president. Don't spray yourself in Lysol and think you're fine. Like,
But I
no.
am kind of interested in shooting UV rays up my bum and see what that feels like.
Okay, I kind
Well,
of.
Christy says you need a Corona Bay, like a friends with benefits, but just like a
Yes.
Corona benefit friend. Like you guys are both, quarantine and clean.
But see, that's the problem because in reality, that makes sense. In Grindr Land,
It's true.
it's all kinds of promiscuous.
It is. Like there ain't nobody gonna
So,
be like, I'm keeping myself clean for my one bay during quarantine.
yeah.
But you would think it would make sense, like if you want to get laid. But then again, if there's
Yeah.
people out there like, saying, all right, let's go to the park, whatever, then I guess what's the point? They're not gonna even try.
Yeah, exactly. But I am enough of a lady to keep
You
my legs
are.
crossed for a few more weeks and ride it out and wait till the
And
time is right.
I'm just gonna keep waiting for my ghost spirit lovers.
Exactly. And see,
They're
like I said, I'm trying to
coronavirus
summon some
free.
demons to.
Oh my God. And just so you know, everybody, in case you were wondering, in a couple weeks, I'm going to be making a very big purchase of a new vibrator called the Womanizer. Which have you
said
heard
a
of
very big
this?
purchase, and I instantly thought of Gucci.
Bitch, this is a $200 vibrator, so I feel like that's a really big purchase. But
What
the
does it
reviews,
do?
it like latches onto your clit like a fucking like suckerfish and doesn't let go until you've screamed to
You need to send me
heaven
product
17
details.
times. So I'm just putting it out there that it's $200. So I'm going to be making this purchase here shortly in a few weeks, and I'm going to let everybody know what happens.
Are you going to do a live testing?
No, me and my ghost lovers will try it out first. And then I'm going to let you guys all know, just so that if you're going to be like, wanting to spend $200, know whether it's worth it or not. Okay.
And see, Theta, that's actually, I appreciate you saying that because last week when we were talking about me blowing way too much money on Jeffree Star Cosmetics.
Yes.
That's exactly the point of what I do. I spend ridiculous amounts of money on his products. I test them out and let people know what they should buy, which is all
right.
Right.
And it's self-care, right? And is that
Yes.
not the witch's creed?
Oh,
Above all self, to their own self be
pretty time.
true. Yes.
I'm
Now,
actually a huge advocate, which is ironic because I felt like this quarantine was something that I helped, not the coronavirus, mind you, but something that I manifested with this quarantine was taking time for yourself.
yes.
And I tell people, it's as simple as taking 2 hours once every couple weeks where you sit on the couch or lay in bed, you have some, fancy snacks and beverages, you watch a good movie that you've been wanting to watch, and you think about nobody or nothing except for what you're doing in yourself.
Yes.
Because you need to keep yourself right.
Because you can't.
And I think that's one thing that this quarantine hopefully has taught some people is to have some self-care.
Because if you don't have that time for just you thought, you don't know who the fuck you are.
Yeah. So if it's, about me spending $100 on a makeup palette or you spending $200 for
to
a
see
dildo.
Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
Yes.
Okay. Now, speaking of Jeffree Star, you turned me on to a YouTuber. Was it Novympia? Is that how you say it?
Novympia, yes.
Novympia. Okay. Yes, Christy, especially as an RN right now with the coronavirus, you need to be doing some self-care, girl.
Yes,
like, that's not even a joke.
And seriously, a little manicure pedicure kit that you can do. Oh, and my Siri just turned on when I said that.
She's like, what you need, bitch?
Yeah, sit on the couch, paint your nails, do a face mask, drink a glass of champagne. Take care of
you. Yes. Let the emotions come. You need to experience them. Like, that's so important. Don't lock them down,
Yes.
feel what you need to feel, and then, get yourself cleansed of all those emotions so that you can go back and do it again. But I do want to talk about Olympia. Okay. We got to talk about Olympia.
I do want to just actually go back to, since she is actually a healthcare worker dealing with this coronavirus piece as well. But that is something too, going with our witchcraft that I wanted to say to people too is, now keeping in mind, this is a very serious thing that we have to take seriously and not treat as some fluff. But at the same time, as part of our witchcraft piece, and this is something that all people can do, whether you want to practice witchcraft or not, is just put positive energy out into the universe.
Yes.
That this whole thing is a good way for us to learn how to have that downtime, how to take a deep breath, and not allow it to consume us with fear.
Yep.
Because that's something that actually is very necessary. But anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you on what you're going to...
That's okay. Now you turned me on, speaking of Jeffree Star, to Olympia. Olympia is a British drag queen.
Actually, it's a British drag couple.
A British drag couple. Oh, it's like Nova.
It's like the Brangelina, but it's Nova and Olympia.
Nova and Olympia.
Yeah.
And me and Maxine, tell us if there's any other else out there, but we love, what do you call it? Like a British Britophile? We're like Britophiles. That sounds really disgusting.
I was going to say.
Is that the right word for it?
I'm going to get arrested. I'm a lover of the ginge.
We love all things British.
Yes. Even though I can't do the accent to save my life.
Oh, no, but there's nothing hotter than a guy with an accent. Oh, Lord Jesus, help me. Okay.
Preach it, honey.
Hold on, I was just kidding. I was thinking about Benedict Cumberbatch's voice in my head. Sorry. Anglophile. Yes. Dark and Stormy comes through.
Yes.
Thank you, girl.
She's our smart one.
Thank you. So not a Britophile, an Anglophile.
Yes.
And so Olympia and Nova are British drag queens, and they do hilarious parodies. They did
There's a whole lot more to their channel than that, but that's just the one thing I think is like such a good indicator of the talent that they have.
Yes. And they did a parody of the Tiger King, which you refused to watch.
I didn't refuse to watch it. I just could not get into it.
You just get telling me you're not going to watch it.
One of these days I'm going to try again, but I've had, trust me, every single human I know is like, Tiger King.
Tiger King.
Life. And I
don't know that it's life changing. It is not life changing.
That's kind of the way I've been. I don't know.
It is not going to do anything to make your life better.
Yeah. I was actually talking to my friend the one day, just to show you how smart I am some days. And she was saying something about with the Tiger King stuff. And I said something about the Lion King. And I was just very not understanding why she could not figure out what I was trying to talk about. And I'm like, bitch, you're the one that told me about this Netflix show about the guy who owns the lions. She goes, Tiger King.
This is not Simba and Mufasa. Although
it wasn't that stuff.
I actually learned a Swahili song when I was in 10th grade. So don't even go there because I can do it.
I was going to say, well, I can't technically because I'll kill people with my voice. But yeah. But yeah, they're definitely my YouTube recommendation pick for the week. They, Theta was saying, they're a British drag queen couple. They do things in and out of drag. One of the things they're really well known for, obviously, is doing the parody stuff. They did a hilarious Tiger King parody, even though I haven't watched this show in its entirety. I've seen enough of it to realize how good they were with it. And I mean, you saw the Jeffree Star, Shane Dawson ones and actually
oh my God, what happened?
Not only sent
Did you die, bitch? What was going on?
Hello?
Are we having technical difficulties?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounded like you got
there was disconnected. There was a little drummer boy in the background for a second or something. It was so weird. He's fucking with the child, and I hate children. Thumping his dick on your windowsill. Let me in. Anyways.
But yeah, so
Come, I told you.
so
Ooh,
anyway, we're gonna keep getting distracted if we don't
you're
stick to
right.
this.
Squirrel.
But I obsessed.
There it is again. Okay, we're having
I
some
don't know.
issues.
Can
What are
you hear
you
me?
doing? Yeah, I keep getting a little
Okay, as
drummer
long as you
boy.
can hear me, don't worry about it.
I
Clearly,
know, but
it's the little.
if
It's
people
the
in the world can hear your little drummer boy thumping his dick on your windowsill, it's
it's
just
the ghost trying to have sex with you.
oh, finally, I've got to go. Actually, I'm just gonna let him get started now. We can finish up in 3 minutes.
But anyway, I went through the work of sending Theta the link for her to watch Novimpia do the Shane Dawson Jeffree Star parody, and then I
Yes.
went and put together all the clips from Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star that were what they used in the parody for her to see,
Yes.
like, do a compare and contrast with it. And it's pretty spot on, wouldn't you say?
It was. Bitch gave me
So
homework like I was in school.
I made it easy for you. All you had to do was press play.
That's true.
I mean,
It was
it's
still
not that hard.
hard. I had to do homework. I'm
It's not as hard
42
as
years
getting off the
old.
couch.
42. I don't have to do homework anymore.
Yes. Thank you, Christy. It was nice talking with you as well.
Bye. We love
Sorry
you.
to see you leave,
Come
but
back
keep in
next
mind.
week.
Yes, I was gonna say keep in mind you can follow us on our social media on Instagram at Maxine Factor, at Theta Valley, and also at Those Two Queens.
Yes. Look at you. Like you're like a fucking pro and shit. Like bam, bam, bam.
Seriously, I want them to be able to follow us so we
Second
can, chat
episode.
with
You
them
got
later.
it. All right, bitches.
So-
Well, we're gonna put the links to that on our pages so that you guys can check them out. Give a little shout out to our YouTube of the week, and that is it. We are wrapping up for the day. Unfortunately, again, I don't have the music on here, so I cannot send you out with our wonderful theme song by Verbicide. But that's okay.
I
We'll
think
get
you
it in
should
there
just
next
sing the
week.
Drummer Boy theme song.
Yes. Wow.
Sex kitten meow.
Meow. All right. We will come back out, Jen, next Sunday at 12 Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern live.
Yes,
This
you
will be
remembered
good.
the time zones.
I did. Yay.
Congratulations.
Final, thank you.
We're like
Thank
grown-ups
you.
now.
I know.
Yes.
And this will be going on Spotify, on Podbean, and I'm figuring out how to get it on Apple. And by hell or high water, the shit's going on Apple by the end of this week if it kills me. So,
and don't forget too, we're also having it uploaded to our YouTube page.
Oh yes, also there.
Which, for those of you who do not know this already, so please, if you want to become part of our royal court, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our link here on Podbean. But if you go on to YouTube, you will be able to see our original video versions of Two Queens Checking In that we did a couple years ago.
When
so
we were
if you
trying
want
to
some
figure
extra
this out.
fabulous content.
Yeah, see our faces.
Yes, you'll see what we actually look like in real life. We're very sorry.
Bitch, I'm not
Don't
sorry.
judge us or sue us over it.
I'm like Medusa, turning bitches to stone when they look at me.
Heck yeah.
All right, guys, have a great week. Stay safe. We'll check in late next week. Mwah.
Mwah. Bye.
Bye.